CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Jordan Love, or Brock Purdy?
Ooh, that's great. Okay. The Gator in me wants to pick Anthony Richardson. I'm going to pick CJ Stroud, and it sounds a little bit obvious, but I actually think that what we saw from him last year, he completely flashed on the scene. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, we didn't see this coming," and he's so great. I think he's going to be even better. And what the Texans have done to surround him with talent and make it an even better situation for him, I think is great. I mean, you look back to last season, they had a lot of success, but they really didn't run the ball well. So I think that's going to change. And to me, we saw so much greatness out of him, but there's a lot more to be unlocked. So I'm going to go with Stroud. He's also just like an incredible, he just belongs in the NFL. He's like a professional leader, but also still has a ton of personality. And
Jameel Muhammad and Jeff Cardozo dive into the hobby, which is sports cards, trading cards, as well as all other collectibles, right now on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast, live from the Coaches Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill.
All right, it is that time once again. It's the Meelypod Hobby Podcast alongside Jameel Muhammad. I am Jeff Cardozo, and we are broadcasting from Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. This week was a big week for this place, the 3-year anniversary for Coach Spurrier, Jerry, Freddie, all the great things that they've done. It's kind of nuts to think of how quickly this has become like sort of the staple of Gainesville. And, of course, college football is about to start, so it's going to be a legit place once again. And you have probably enjoyed being here once again because you had the National, finally got to breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
But then you're about to hit the road again. So
yeah.
It's like nonstop.
They came out with this, Michael Rubin and Fanatics came out with this Fanatics Fest, they're calling it. It's supposed to be the Comic-Con experience for sports. They have the guest list is quite impressive. When you have Tom Brady, Derek Jeter, Eli Manning, Sabrina Ionescu, Kevin Durant. I mean, they got loads. Anthony Edwards. Tons of people are going to be at this event, and not just a few sports. So they're bringing them all out, and I think a lot of fans will be there. So it's going to be a fan event. Will it be a card show? I don't know. We'll see. That's kind of what I'm hoping to kind of learn about the market. But I am excited for potential of new fans and potentially the high-end clients that will come because it's a pricey entry fee. So, but we're heading to New York very soon, and we're going to be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So come check us out. If you are in the Northeast and you are going to Fanatics Fest, we'll put up our booth number here in a second, but we'd love to see you.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, and you're going to love who you're going to see as our guest today, Laura Rutledge of, she does a million things. SEC, a big part of that, and travels around to each and every shop each week for the SEC in town, and, of course, does a bunch of stuff with the NFL and NFL Live. So really some good conversation of her favorite players. She married somebody from an opposing school, so it's a house divided, all that kind of stuff. It's always interesting to see that because I think even, maybe from your perspective in the shop, I've been in the shop a couple times where some dude walks in like a Florida State jersey or a Georgia hat, and I'm like, what the heck are you doing in here? But, we love everyone, I guess, right?
Yeah, you have to, have fun with it, right?
Yes,
you know what I mean?
for
And
sure.
so I think the bigger rivalry, college football is big. We haven't had, the Gators and FSU. FSU's dominated for us, and Georgia too. So we don't have a lot of, barking bits at these guys. But I see the biggest, trash talk is when NFL comes around. And it's not always the teams. You know what it is? It's fantasy a lot of the times. Guys coming in, watching games together, talking about how they're kicking someone's butt, or, they come in to try and buy some cards from some guy because he won them the game last week. So that whole world is upon us. We have the fantasy drafts right around the corner for many of you, and it's a world I love. You know what I mean? It's a world that I love to kind of see that kids get involved in it, learn player stats, and baseball and basketball are a little different. They take so long. There's so long seasons, but football is the perfect.
Once a week, you're geared, you're ready to go. If you have an extra spot, I'll kick your butt.
All right, we'll see. You kick my butt. By the way, this guy kicked my butt at some Papa Shot basketball at a local establishment the other night. And if you ever want to play against this guy don't, because he will kick your butt. He will take all your money. And he's got a reach that's not fair. It's like this giraffe reach that he can.
It's just a rhythm and a flow.
It's like Space Jam when Jordan reaches. Remember that? And he just drops the ball in? I look over and Jeff's doing that. So don't play him in Papa Shot basketball.
Well, I was not good enough to be in the Olympics, but of course the Olympics just finished up. Maybe 3-on-3. I could have hung with
you could have
definitely.
I think you could have been all right.
And Team USA there. But how fun was that? And I think I always think back to now the card world and what we're doing here with the Meelypod Hobby Podcast. But you saw it in the game to get you to the finals, and then you saw it in the gold medal game. I mean, Steph Curry's got to be the greatest shooter of all time. Like, I'm just sitting there watching and just laughing and going crazy. Like, so all of a sudden, like, are his cards going to become legit because he just won a gold medal for the first time? Or, where are we with that?
Well, you just said something I think about a lot is, could that be the last time, too, for Curry? Definitely think it's for LeBron. I can't see LeBron playing
No way.
whatever, 49, not that old, but, 43 years old. One thing I haven't told you about is, and we'll put this up on the screen for the viewers on Facebook and YouTube, but Topps came out with a card from Topps Now. So Topps Now is a product that you can buy cards from instant things. So they have Olympics, like we bought some Grant Holloway cards that they made for him. It's really cool stuff, just based on the yesterday's events. Well, it's a card with Durant, LeBron, and Curry on it. Well, they said anybody who buys this card has a chance at a 1-of-1 card that's never been seen before, and it's an autographed Curry, LeBron, Durant, and it's a different formation of the card. So everyone's going crazy over that, especially with the hype of the Olympics. So we'll see who gets it. I mean, you literally could buy a card and then have a chance at that. So I'm looking forward to seeing. I think there's already been a bounty out for $100,000 and things like that. So this is kind of a unique way to see cards develop, like literally the day after an event. So Topps Now, and they have a Panini has one called Panini Instant, is another way. And so I'm looking forward to that Topps Now card. See who gets it.
And even if it's not a card, do we see jerseys? Because obviously you see it in Major League Baseball, the NFL. Everybody puts out just this special edition. Major League Baseball's doing these hats now with a certain number on the side, and I know that's to generate different things. But are these items that could maybe be good to keep down the road if you get a Steph Curry basketball Team USA jersey?
Yeah, I think like you brought up hats. There's a world in jerseys and hats where if you can get something signed that's a little bit off the beaten path, that's not the typical, and the print run on that stuff is not big. Like, they have the City jerseys for
City Connect,
MLB, City Connect, and they have, I forget what they call it for NBA, but they have these jerseys that rep cities, and if you can get some of that and to sign that, I've seen those values go up a ton. Also, of course, game used memorabilia. We have some Zion shoes that we've been holding on for a while. We're hoping to get those signed one day by Zion, because we bought a big collection a long time ago of his high school stuff. So you think about these things, and for people who collect and for people who are out there looking for stuff, game used, I always tell people, provenance is important, but uniqueness, inscription that's unique, not to Jeff, but just something cool. Like Babyface Assassin is the one that everyone loves for Steph Curry. He has a few cards out like that, sell for buku dollars, right?
Yeah.
So just thinking through those things as you hunt that autographs. But there's some cool stuff out there. Tickets are another big thing. If they had physical tickets for that game, which I don't know if they did, I would imagine that those tickets would be massive, And then of course down the line, could you get all three of those guys to sign it, maybe, or maybe just Steph and LeBron to sign it in a signing? So these are the kinds of things where collectors just love to kind of make them, super niche.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because right above us right here, there's a picture of Steve Spurrier making a kick against Auburn.
Yeah.
And that basically won him the Heisman Trophy. And I've probably talked to 50 people that say they were at that game, and there wasn't even a lot of people at that game.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the ticket stuff is a cool thing to just say, hey, that was a part of that or something. And not a lot of people can say that they have that.
Yeah.
So
That's
really cool.
It's just another world of collectibles, right?
Sure.
I mean, we're going to get into stuff on this podcast that we've really kind of taken it easy, I think, these first 10 episodes, 11 episodes, where we've stuck to sports cards. But we're going to venture into Pokemon. We're going to venture into, and again, not just the Pokemon that you think your kids play at $3 at the dollar store pack. I'm talking $100,000 cards and things like that. We're going to venture into, I was just had a conversation with a good friend, Josh Luber, and he's starting a new collectible toy company called Ghostwrite. And I want to have him on the podcast. We're working a date for that, to bring him on and talk a little bit about collectible toys, hype toys. There's something called Bear Bricks. I'll teach you about that. Okay. But there's all this world there that, like, these things are evolving into more and more and more collectibles that are not driving in a few bucks. I mean, we're talking thousands, 4, 5, 6-figure kind of prices. So we're going to bring a lot of that on, a lot through the show, and I'm really excited for that. And I'm excited for today to get a perspective from an expert, an ex-Gator, and someone who's going to tell us a little bit about, I think, maybe some of our favorite football players.
Yeah, a lot of fun talking to Laura, and I guess that's cool for me, because now my He-Man stuff from way back when might actually be worth some. See, Mom, I told you I shouldn't have thrown it away.
That's your nickname, right? Jeff He-Man Cardozo?
Yeah, Masters of the Universe. That was good. All right, so you got me geeked, because I love fantasy football. I love playing. I love being a part of it. And, we're starting to see these preseason games now. Caleb Williams was really good in the first one. I think Daniels is going to be legit and certainly be the starter in Washington.
Sure.
And you thought J.J. McCarthy might be the starter, but it just came out that he is now going to have some knee surgery and miss that. So I would assume all of a sudden J.J. McCarthy cards are –
because he had some hype at
Yeah.
the National. People were buying his stuff. He had his first cards come out. We'll talk about it in our wax segment, but the gold packs had his first cards in it. So you start to see that, what's going on? Is he fragile? I think people did that with Anthony Richardson last year, though.
Sure.
They jumped the boat on him once he got injured. But then, you know what I mean? Look at his stuff now. It's like almost at Stroud level. So football fandom is a little finicky. Fantasy football was always fun in that. But I'm looking forward to seeing it. The football cards in our shop have been selling out. I mean, we've been selling online. Things have just been flying off the shelves. So it's here.
And Stroud's an interesting one because it's almost like you forget about him because he was in the class and then now you want the new ones. But he was so good last year. So, and that's somebody that I haven't even really thought of in the collection world, but he's a big deal, huh?
Yeah, Stroud, it's such an interesting study because of his leadership ability,
Sure.
right? I mean, he doesn't really look like some crazy athletic specimen, right? You look at Richardson, you're like, yeah, this guy dominates everything.
Yeah.
But then you look at Stroud, you're like, oh, who's this guy? He's an Ohio State quarterback. They never do well. Well, look what happened. You know what I mean? And so to see him succeed and to also see him how he leads in a massive market, people forget about how big Houston is.
Sure.
Just as a physical city in our country, right? Houston and Dallas, and now you have kind of this huge rivalry of, Texas team is becoming the Houston Texans. Are they going to take over? You got the Micah Parsons and the CJ Stroud on the podcast, always bickering, which is great for, rivalry. So I think he's marketable. I think he's also seems like he's a very good head on his shoulders when he's not doing the crazy things. He's leading his team. And to come in with a rookie like that, I think that's what impressed a lot of people. So we'll see. His cards are through the roof right now.
Yeah, so not the best time to buy. But buy into what we are doing. Again, we try to have fun with the Meelypod Hobby Podcast. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook, YouTube Live, Twitter, all the things that are going on in 39 different platforms from whatever you want to listen to podcast-wise. Of course, that's Apple, it's Spotify, it's Google, it's Overcast, and many, many more to do. So we'll take a break, and we will have Laura Rutledge, many jobs. She's, I thought I had a lot of jobs, but Laura is one of the busiest women in the business. So a lot of insight, a lot of different things going on. So we'll come back and talk to her on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast right after this.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Well, we welcome you back to the Meelypod Hobby Podcast. Jeff and Jameel and Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. It was the 3-year anniversary of the restaurant, which is still hard to believe, but a lot of fun things that are happening around here in Gainesville. Somebody that was in Gainesville, now she has ventured out all over the place, is our next guest here on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast. Laura Rutledge is joining the show from probably way up there in the Northeast, where I guess it's still really hot as heck up there too. Hey, Laura.
Hi, guys. Yeah, it's funny. It's definitely probably cooler here than it is there, but it is still warm here. And talk to me around November when it's already, freezing. And the one reprieve of having a role in college football still is that I get to travel around the South during the times when it's gotten really chilly up here, and it's still just a little bit like fall down there.
Yeah, we don't know the word freezing down here anymore, Laura. So yeah,
I
that you can
miss that.
experience that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we start this podcast off with you. Thank you for being with us. And I was thinking, I was like, I got to know if Laura Rutledge has been or is a collector of anything, or maybe Josh, the kids. And then to kind of follow up with that, do you have any of Josh's old baseball cards laying around?
Yes, so I can answer that 2-part question in 1 part, because we are collectors of sorts, but really for me, it's just anything that had Josh on it. So if it was one of his baseball cards with any of the major league teams that he was with, we have a lot of those, especially with the Rockies. Some of those cards when, he made his major league debut and even just beyond that are really special to us. And so definitely collect those and keep them in a special spot. We also have one of the cool things about, being in the major leagues, I guess, is you can get things signed by other players. So while he was in the majors, a lot of times he would get bats signed and things like that. So we have a lot of just really cool signatures and things and jerseys and all that. And in fact, so right now we have his Alabama baseball jersey framed and displayed with a little card and then some photos of his time in college. But I've got a Rockies one that I want to get up on the wall too. So I'm like probably atypical maybe in the sense I'm like, yeah, let's make the whole house a man cave. Let's just put, all this sports memorabilia up there. But yeah, for us, I think, when it comes to collecting, it's anything that has sentimental value and we really, celebrate that.
I think so many people are going to love to hear that.
Yeah.
Man cave everywhere. So that's what makes Laura even more awesome. What else was awesome too is watching, Reese pick the games for a while. And then of course now Jack is a part of it. And, the big one was picking Bama over Georgia last year. I think that was a lot of fun. But when Reese first started, she was money, picking pretty much everything. I think there were only 2 or 3 losses that first year. How did that start? What was that like?
She actually scares me sometimes with that. I'm like, how do you know this stuff? Where is this coming from? And especially, you reference even last year that Bama over Georgia. Nobody was Georgia was the better team. They should have won the national championship, the whole thing. For Bama to win that game, and they were on a bit of a hot streak, but you think back to that Iron Bowl, which by the way, she did her first live pick at that Iron Bowl game, and she picked Auburn, and she was wrong, but only because of that gravedigger play that brought Alabama back with Jalen Milroe doing some heroics. We were listening to the game in the radio on the car, in the car with Reese in the car, and Josh and I are like, oh my God, she's going to be right about this. Hugh Freeze's Auburn team is going to beat this Alabama team. Anyway, so the way it started was actually pretty interesting. During COVID, we weren't traveling SEC Nation that 2020 season. So we were in studio. We were just trying to think of things to make it interesting and different. And we were just kind of throwing things at the wall. And a lot of the people on the show had dogs. And then I was really the only one that had a baby yet, and actually that's still true. But anyway, so we were like, oh, let's do dogs versus babies. And that was the original concept. The dogs were going to pick the games. And then we were going to just see what Reese did. If we put 2 helmets at the end of the hall, she could crawl at that point. She couldn't even walk, she was going to be crawling to the helmets. Well, the dogs didn't work out. So Reese kind of was the only thing that stuck. And the funniest, crazy thing about it that a lot of people don't know is we were doing those picks live. So my husband would wake her up from a nap. She then FaceTime into the show, and then she would do the pick live. Which I'm like, what were we thinking? This is like a baby, she's extremely unreliable, but she would do it every time. And, just is really cool. And I will tell you guys, she's going to do her picks with Jack again this year. We ask her every year. It's her decision. She, doesn't have to do it, obviously. And she decided that she wants to do it again. So it's going to be fun to see those two together once again.
Some of these young quarterbacks that we're seeing in the league. And so in my world, the hobby world, there's a lot of focus on rookie classes, young talent. And I thought I'm going to put some names together, and I would love to hear what Laura's thoughts are and who's going to have the most successful career. So if you're up for it, I'm going to give you a couple tiers, a couple guys, and you tell me from the Laura perspective, who does she think is going to have maybe the most successful career when it's all said and done? So first tier, I got Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Tua Tagovailoa.
Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna take Joe Burrow out of that tier, but all of them are going to be great, right? And they already are. They're the class of the NFL, just kind of slightly behind Patrick Mahomes, which everybody is, right? And I would say, the reason why is I'm hoping that he can stay healthy going forward. But I just think his game, when he's healthy, when he's mobile, we even saw him, actually being able to move around in the pocket a little bit in the preseason. And you're like, oh, aha, that's what it's like again. We saw him be such a statue last year dealing with the injuries. I think he is so talented, obviously, but it's the mental side that I believe will allow him to have a ton of success. Plus, I think they're going to finally get this Jamar Chase deal done soon. When you've got receivers like that, you're going to be really good. And then I would just say too, like, Lamar Jackson is unbelievable. To me, what he's already done, you would say he might end up being the most successful just with the accolades alone. But I do think we've seen at times the Ravens fall short in these big moments. Last year was certainly an example. I felt like last year was their best chance so far in the Lamar Jackson era to win a Super Bowl, and they weren't able to get it done. But maybe this year is the year, and I'll be eating crow, and I should have said Lamar Jackson for my answer. But they're all great. I mean, what an exciting time to be an NFL fan.
Yeah, Reese picked Lamar Jackson, so we'll have to go with that one. But
She
no,
probably did.
that 18 class, that 20 class in the hobby is so wild because there's so many young quarterbacks. I omitted Patrick Mahomes because I mean for right now, I mean everyone's looking at him as the future GOAT. But all right, tier 2, here we go. CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Jordan Love, or Brock Purdy.
Ooh, that's great. Okay. The Gator in me wants to pick Anthony Richardson. I'm going to pick CJ Stroud, and it sounds a little bit obvious, but I actually think that what we saw from him last year, he completely flashed on the scene. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, we didn't see this coming," and he's so great. I think he's going to be even better. And what the Texans have done to surround him with talent and make it an even better situation for him, I think is great. I mean, you look back to last season, they had a lot of success, but they really didn't run the ball well. So I think that's going to change. And to me, we saw so much greatness out of him, but there's a lot more to be unlocked. So I'm gonna go with Stroud. He's also just like an incredible, he just belongs in the NFL. He's like a professional leader, but also still has a ton of personality. And I think, Texans fans, but just NFL fans in general, I think are going to be rooting for him going forward. And if you're a collector and you've got some CJ Stroud memorabilia, hold on to that because it's going to be worth a whole lot.
Yeah, that's we just got back from the national event in Cleveland. It's this massive event where there's like 100,000 collectors come, and CJ Stroud was the top guy in football that everybody was asking for. It was like a hot commodity. Liquidity of him was quite wild. Yeah. So that's a great. I mean, ARs are our own personal touch. We hope he's going to have an amazing year, but I think most people would agree with you on that with Stroud. All right, last tier. This one's the hardest one because we have limited data on these guys, but I'd love to hear your takes. All right, tier 3 is Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and JJ McCarthy.
Okay, I'm going to say Jaden Daniels. And part of this is because it could be fresh in my memory, the absolute gorgeous passes he's throwing in the preseason, which we've seen, right? Like we saw that at LSU. We saw that even at Arizona State. Even when, he wasn't as consistent, you're just like, oh my God, at times you see him just so quickly make decisions to just like roll out of the pocket, throw a beautiful pass. It looks amazing. It looks like, it must be easy to catch, fun to catch, all these things that I'll never know, but it must be cool. Anyway, I think he's so uber talented in so many ways. And he's got that instinctual quality that makes a big difference at the NFL level. He'll have some bumps along the way, I'm sure, but just to see him go up against real NFL defenses and do what he's done so far has been impressive. So I'm going to give him a slight edge. I think, though, this entire group, even including Drake May, who I don't think we should see him next season. I wish they would just not even play him, like give him some time, give that O-line some time to not be a disaster. But I think this whole class from last year's draft is going to be excellent. And it's a really fun time to see them kind of ushered into the NFL. What we saw in the early goings of the preseason, obviously it's only been one chance and poor JJ McCarthy's dealing with a knee injury now, but they all looked like they belonged to me in a way that I think is difficult, coming in with as much pressure as all of them have, Caleb Williams included there. But yeah, it's a fun rookie draft class this year. And I think we're going to see a ton of success from those guys going forward. I would just give Jaden a slight edge.
All right, so there you go. A lot of cards to go after and get, and certainly a lot of great young quarterbacks. All right, I'm going to take you back to the good old days of being here in Gainesville and the Gator stuff. And I know how much you love being a Gator while you were here, and all the great things that you did. But then you go and you marry the enemy, and You think about all the times I've played summer ball and we go and you play with these guys, but then they became like your best friends. So I wonder what that dynamic was like early on. Was there a lot of trash talking of, hey, the Gators are better than Bama? Like, what was that like?
Well, the unfortunate part, Jeff, is that Florida hasn't really been better than Bama in our 10 plus year marriage, which makes me sad to say. There was that SEC championship game in 2020 where I was talking a lot of trash because I was like, oh, we're doing this right now. Like we're going to beat you guys. And we were so close. But, it is funny. I think where it really manifests is in Reese, because Reese is like, choosing teams she's going to root for. And I'm like, girl, don't forget about the Gators, and she calls them Mama's Gators. Like, she doesn't ever call them just Florida or the Gators or, UF or anything like that. So I think she feels some nostalgia toward us. And I'm going to lean into that. And I'm like, you know what, Reese, now's the time. Okay. We're about to turn this thing around and we're going to be the team that you're going to want to root for. But right now she kind of leans Alabama. So I'm working on that.
Right. No, and that makes sense. But I guess I wonder then too, even from you guys on the set, there's so many different colleges that are tied in. Like, are there any funny bets going on behind the scenes in big games? Like, are certain things happening? A lot of smack talking?
Always. And you guys may not have seen this, but this was, I don't remember if it was last year or the year before. It might have been the year before, but I had this bet going with Marcus Spears and Ryan Clark that Florida was going to beat LSU. And the whole thing was, if the Gators won, they were going to have to wear like a Gator thing on the show on NFL Live. And if LSU won, I was going to have to wear a Tiger mask. They were very specific about that. So unfortunately for me, LSU won the game and I ended up having to wear the Tiger mask on TV, which is just like so ridiculous. And I was very sad. It didn't matter. I still love my Gators no matter what, in all kinds of weather. But I was like, thanks a lot, guys. So there are always things like that, and we have a lot of fun with that. The problem is, like, on the NFL Live set, at least if we're talking specifically about that, like Orlovsky and his UConn Huskies, basketball is the only thing really that they can talk about. So he can't really talk to us about football. Mina is like sneakily, she's a Nebraska fan. So she's excited about Nebraska this year, which I think she should be. And then she's also a Washington fan. So last year was really fun for her with Washington doing as well as they were. And then, on the Nation set, I got Tim on my side for everything. So that's good. And, we've got Roman, who of course is our Alabama fan. And then as you go down the line, like Feinbaum, nobody knows who he roots for because people think he's an Alabama fan, but he went to Tennessee. So we can't ever figure out him. And then Jordan went to Vandy. So he's like not, no offense to Vandy, but he's not really part of the mix there.
Yeah. Awesome.
So thinking a little bit about UF gets me thinking about you guys in college, and fall semester starts next week and Thursday here in Gainesville. So I'd love to know a little bit about, the young Laura McKeeman walking the halls of Turlington and thinking about her future. Did you ever think that you would be, number one, giving mom tips and recipes on something called TikTok and something called Instagram, and then also having probably one of the greatest jobs in football, broadcasting?
Oh my goodness. That was a throwback with McKeeman, the maiden name. I love it. No, I could have never in a million years imagined any of this. And I do remind myself a lot of that when I'm feeling a little bit tired or, this is a pretty demanding job at this point. I'm like, man, it's not just you wanted this, but it's like you could have never dreamed of this, really. And I've said this before, but my true aspiration was to be the Florida football radio sideline reporter. That's what I thought. If I could just do that, I thought I would have made it. I still think that. I still think that's a great job. So to be here, I mean, it's actually pretty cool. Today is the 10-year anniversary of the SEC network, and that was really the first network part of ESPN that gave me a chance. And I was 25 years old. And just beating down their doors, like, please just let me do something. And I think back on that and I think that there's no way I would have even gotten that opportunity if not for all of the experience that I got at Florida. And I think it was a unique time because we had so much success in football, namely, but in other sports as well. And I was kind of given a front row seat to that, just asking to do anything and everything that I could. And I fell in love with doing this. And so I think for me at this point now, it's really about like, yes, I'm so thankful for my career, but how can I help the next group coming along? And that's really important to me. It's been really neat to share with Florida students and just even college students across the nation who reach out and ask for advice. I'm always like, I can't believe anybody be asking me for advice, and I was like begging for anybody to give me any tips when I was in college and, like you said, kind of walking those halls of Turlington. But I'm just really thankful for my time at Florida, and it means a lot to me to be able to reflect on some of that now.
Yeah, and you get to do so many cool things now. I think the fun stuff for us is we get to go around and travel and be a part of just around so many neat people and athletes. And I guess I wonder, like, do you ever, or have you ever gotten to the point where it's like, holy crap, there's so and so, or I'm working with so and so. Like, I think I've had a few of those over my career, but I mean, is there somebody that's like, wow, like I'm with this person?
All the time. Like I'm like, oh my goodness. I mean, I feel that way about Tebow. Like when we were in college, it was like, I'm like, in the radio scrum trying to hold up my recorder, trying to just get a soundbite from him. And now, I'm fortunate enough to consider him one of my best friends and, to know Demi and just to see his life grow and develop the way that it has. And I mean, so many of the great things that he does and his foundation and everything, that's just been really cool. And I'm like such a small part of anything that he's doing. But I think, to think back just as a Florida fan who was there during the time of his greatness, to get to spend time with him now is really special. And I mean, it happens all the time where I can't believe I'm doing things. And then like, I have to sit there and not think about it because then I start getting nervous. I'm like, all right, just, this is no big deal. Like, just try to convince myself that it's no big deal. But no, I mean, it is just amazing, to get to do all this. And I think the funny thing is a lot of times, when people are like, oh, you've achieved so much, or I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm just, still the same person that was bebopping around in Gainesville trying to, find some 7-on-7 camp to go to.
Yeah. Yeah. The good old days of Scout and Rivals and all that stuff.
It.
Getting started. One thing though, I think it seemed like you really enjoyed in, being a baseball guy, I love that movie Fever Pitch, and or Drew Barrymore jumps on the field and, she's about to get arrested, but Jimmy Fallon's like, how was the outfield grass? And just trying to figure that, like, I sat there and actually thought about you being at Augusta and the Masters. Like, did you just like go lay on a green and, pet the grass and just like, wow, I'm actually here in Augusta?
I couldn't believe, I mean, so I grew up in Atlanta. And so Augusta was always, and the Masters was always something that as a family, even like I can remember really young watching that on TV, and we couldn't afford to go over there. And it was like never something that we would do. And so to be there and for the first time and to be having a role for ESPN's coverage was just unbelievable. It's actually a really cool story. The first time I wanted to walk the entire course just to really get familiar with every single part of it. And it's so beautiful, but it's also just such a unique golf course. If you're a golf fan, you would know like there's so many iconic places like Amen Corner, but it's just throughout. There's so many moments that have happened there, but also just like seeing the difficulty of it. But anyway, so the first area that I walked up to was the practice area. And right as I walked up, Tiger Woods is just out there practicing putting. And I'm like, oh my God. So that's probably one of those moments where I'm like, don't freak out. And it just, I mean, to see it and to be there was really special. And I'll tell you guys like a little peek behind the curtain, I've been on all these NFL fields for huge games. Like we did the playoff games last year on ESPN, the first time ever that ESPN got these postseason games. I was on the sideline. It is wild. Everyone's yelling, screaming, and you've got to like the red light turns on and you got your microphone, you got to just go and deliver. And it's loud and blah, blah, blah. The quiet of Augusta. And then you come on the air and you're like trying to be normal and you're like, welcome to the Masters. Here I am. I was like, oh goodness, I am nervous. Like this is hard because you just know what it means to people, and you know how much it matters and how much of an honor it is to even be there. I was laughing at myself because I'm like, all right, girl, you can do all that intense stuff. You're sitting here in like a really controlled environment. Now you're freaking out. Come on. But it really was. It was just something that I think because of how much it mattered, it was definitely hitting me in a different way.
You spoke earlier a little bit. I was listening to you talk about advice, and the word legacy kind of came to mind. And so I was thinking, you've done so much. You just talk about the Masters and where you've come, and it's a shock to you for even people to ask advice. So we have fall semester starting here next week in Gainesville. What would be one piece of advice Laura would give that 18-year-old, 19-year-old walking down museum, lost as it could be, as they're pondering their future and they're pondering what they want to do at UF?
Sounds like you knew me at 18. I would say just enjoy it. Like take a deep breath. It is going to work out. And I know that feels kind of corny, but I was so hard on myself. I was like, okay, you have to do this, you have to be doing that, you're not doing enough, you're not going to make it, you're not going to have a job, all of these things. I know I just don't envy college students these days, students in general. I feel like there's so much pressure on them to have instant success in their careers and to immediately leave college and have a job. In the University of Florida, the education is so great. A lot of times that does happen, right? Because it's a respected degree. But I just think what I've found, and you guys could probably speak to this too, I'm 35, but I've seen so many people who don't even have success until they're quote unquote success until they're in their 40s, and that's great. Like that, it takes time to build whatever your career is going to be. And maybe you thought you wanted to do something and then you realize you don't really want to do it. You'd rather do something else. That's okay too. Like lean into that and embrace it. I wish somebody would have told me like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it. Anytime I go back to Gainesville, I'm like, oh man, this place is so fun. I didn't, fully enjoy what it is. And I would say go to the games, like be a crazy fan, find events on campus, connect with people, build those relationships that, as the Gator Nation are going to take you so far. You never know down the road when you're going to run into Gators. And I'll share this really quickly. So like we needed to redo our SEC Nation Open for the show, our theme song, Take the Party Wherever You Go, because we're adding Oklahoma and Texas. So we had to make a whole new song, basically just adding a line, a couple lines there for those new schools. And we were looking at all these different singers to do it. We ended up landing on Brooke Eden, who of course was a Florida student at the same time I was. And I knew Brooke, and we actually were in Miss Florida together one year. And she's just been awesome. And over the years, we've stayed in touch, and I've loved following her career. And she is now going to be the headliner opening our show. And I just actually saw a sneak preview of the tease yesterday, and it's bomb. It's so amazing. And I thought, how cool is that you just never know, like what connections down the road. I think in general, I'm a little bit biased, but Florida grads are the best, and we love to stay connected with each other. So that would be another piece of advice, is just connect with people. You never know when it's going to benefit you or them, as your life carries on, your career carries on.
Yeah, no, that's what's been so great. There's Gator Nations everywhere, as they say,
It
and
is.
all over the country. You run into people that have that, so it's pretty cool. All right, so before we let you go, we do this little rapid fire segment brought to you by Titan MRI. So some quick hitters. Just want to get your initial thoughts on maybe some of these questions. So who is a better texter, you or Shefty?
Shefty.
Okay. Good
He
one.
was texting me yesterday during the show, and I'm like, how are you doing it so fast? I'm talking to you on TV right now. He's like,
That's wild.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
Crazy.
All right, TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram.
Okay. Tougher on a sideline reporter, getting doused with the water or Gatorade, or getting tackled as you're standing there doing like a hit?
Definitely getting tackled. I'd take the Gatorade bath any day.
All right. Is Tim really Clark Kent? Like is Tebow if he
Yes,
pulls
he
off the
is.
Yes.
Breaking news.
Good stuff. All right. Better arm, Mahomes, Josh Allen, or we've seen even AR throw it a little bit.
Dang. I'm going to say Josh Allen. He's got a cannon. And you see that thing in person, you're like, oh my God. It's, unbelievable
Okay.
arm.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. Out of all of your coworkers at ESPN, who has the best swag or the best style?
Ooh, Marcus Spears.
Ooh,
Really?
Marcus Spears.
Yeah.
He's the big
That's a good one.
swagoo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very true.
That's true.
Great nickname. All right. Cooler live mascot, Uga, who I know you've had some run-ins with over the years, or Mike the Tiger.
Oh, I'm going to say Mike the Tiger. Uga's going to get mad at me again, but that's okay.
All right, this
Don't
is
tell
taking you
him.
way back. Better place to sleep, a car dealership or a rest area?
Say car dealership. No one notices you there.
Yeah, for those that don't know, that was early on in Laura's career, having to drive all-nighters from high school back to Gainesville and different things, but you made it happen.
That's what you do. Find a car dealership, pull a ride in. No one thinks anything of it. Rest
Sure.
area could be suspicious.
Very, very true. All right, this is even further back from the way back days. A plie or a pirouette?
Ooh, I'm going to say, okay, I love to turn. That was like one of the things I love the most. So I'm going to say pirouette.
Okay. So the ballet days, for those that don't know.
Mhm.
And all right. And we're doing 10 of these because you mentioned earlier it was the 10-year anniversary of the SEC network. So I thought that would be pretty fitting. So the last one, most fun city to be in when Josh was playing.
Oh, that's a great one. I'm going to actually say Boston. And I loved his time with the Red Sox. And it was just to be in Fenway, it's just iconic. One of the best things that ever happened is because I was traveling a lot during that time. So I missed a lot of games, which I hated, but I was there the night that he hit a home run over the Green Monster. And, he was kind of a role player. Like he would come in when they needed him. He would start sometimes he wouldn't. That game he was starting and he had a couple hits even before that. And then he hit the home run over the Monster. There will never be anything like that. The entire place erupting, everyone's on their feet. And I'm like, yeah,
So
my
cool.
guy.
Yeah.
But I love Boston. Boston was incredible.
All right, we know you love your Gators. Is there an all-time favorite, or is that just too hard of a question?
Oh man, you know what? I think my all-time favorite is actually Steve Spurrier. He's so obviously, the coaching was unbelievable, and he's such a big part of Florida, and to be one of the Heisman winners and all that. But I think his personality is the best. He's so much fun. He's been so kind to me over the years, and I absolutely love him. I mean, Tim is obviously up there too, right? But
Sure.
but yeah, those two are great. But there's so many great ones in all the different sports. I mean, you think about Trinity Thomas, even like she's probably one of my all-time favorites in gymnastics. I just loved watching her. I was actually bummed that I wasn't still doing gymnastics coverage while she was competing. But yeah, goodness, we've been blessed with a lot of great Gators.
Really awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we were blessed to have you. Thank you for the time and coming on and giving everybody a little insight. Now they know what cards to go buy.
Yeah,
So
they got Laura's advice on the cards. So you didn't know you were an expert, but you are.
I mean, I feel like I need to start collecting a little bit more myself. So you guys send me some advice. I love
We'll
it.
get some cards. We'll get some cards out in the mail, and then we'll send some for some baseball, some football, and maybe some. Does Reese and Jack like Pokemon and all? Because we can send some Pokemon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh
All
yeah.
right, we'll
Jack
get that
doesn't
out
know
to you.
anything yet, but Reese does. So, and I'm sure Jack will like it when he figures it out.
Of course.
awesome. We'll make it happen. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
So there you have it. The great Laura Rutledge. Check out all her stuff. She is everywhere, and she'll be in Gainesville for that opener against Miami. SEC Nation will be in town.
Football's around the corner. Make sure you guys are following Laura on Instagram, TikTok. She's got all sorts of different platforms, and yeah, there you go. We had the queen of the queen of football right now.
Yeah.
On Meelypod and Hobby Podcast. We'll have more great guests as well, but thanks to Laura and coming out and spend some time with us.
Yeah, always fun chatting with Laura. All right, we're not done yet. We'll take a quick break and come back and wrap things up on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast right after this. Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
This is Jameel, owner of the Meelypop shop, Gainesville's home for collectibles of all sorts, including every single type of sports cards, whether it be Panini, Topps, Leaf, Upper Deck. We have it. Come on in, get yourself a box, a pack, get yourself some supplies, get into our breaks, get your Pokemon, get your Yu-Gi-Oh! All the other different kinds of TCG products that we carry and shop are always fully in stock. You can find our stuff on our website as well, meelypops.com. That's another way you can interact with the store, or you can just come into the shop. We're located off 39th Avenue by I-75 behind Walgreens and Sonny's. Stop on by. We're open every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you can check us out on our social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, whatnot, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We'd love to see you. Come on out to the shop, have some fun, be a part of the card community here in Gainesville, and always go Gators.
We welcome you back to the Meelypod Hobby Podcast, and that was a lot of fun with Laura. So
Yeah,
many,
definitely.
Great things, a lot of great insight, and it's just, it's fun to hear, just even different rivalries from people on set and how they play it off and do different stuff. It's, I think it's that whole different world, and I've often asked a lot of, my friends that have gone on to play, whatever level it is, whether it's you get all the way to the big leagues or the NFL or something. It's like, hey, what happens when the Gators play Georgia? Like, and, say, oh, we're gambling or we're doing this, or, we've got some type of bet where if he loses, I've got to, wear this stupid LSU shirt or something like that. So it's always a good perspective because, we all understand rivalries and we have sort of that hatred, but there's a lot of people that have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I think that's what makes everything special with sports, right? I mean, just the like, why do you, like, sometimes I'll ask people, like, why are you in such love with this team? I don't know, but I am, like, it's one of those things that, and again, players and things like that, people form an affinity they meet a player once and so they follow them their whole career. Those kinds of things are really cool. I mean, we've talked about Cal Ripken here in the past, I'm sure, our memories of him as his kids and, as we got to know him, meet him and things like that. You follow his career. I'm not an Orioles fan. I don't care less. But so I think those things are awesome. But the rivalries are the best. And we've talked about fantasy enough on here. But I'm sure you're going to have a lot of trash talk out there in the world in the next, 3-4 months.
Yeah. It is time for sure. And it is one of our favorite times here on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast because it is our wax segment brought to you by WaxStat, the easiest way to get real-time price comps on wax boxes and sealed products. You can do it from your mobile phone or your laptop. Save money and time. Get the best deal on wax by visiting WaxStat.com. A couple of weeks ago you had the Topps Chrome come out, so I got all excited, and there was some cool stuff in there, and I decided to buy a box, and I'm just unlucky. I didn't get any Wyatt Langford rookies.
Oh,
My autograph is a guy pitching for Seattle with like a 5 ERA, and not doing all that well. But I mean I guess that's what it is. With the world of wax, you never know, and there's that chase of trying to get something, but. Yeah, it was sort of a dud box.
We have certain guys in the shop that have like a magic touch. So maybe I need to get them to pick you a box.
Rub it or something.
Yeah, listen to it or do something, tap on it. There's all sorts of ways people play the wax game. But that's the truth of it, right? There's ups and downs to buying wax. I think that understanding that you're not going to, like, a lot of people come in the shop and will ask, like, well, how much money am I going to get back? And it's like, it's complete chance. Like, you just don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it draws a lot of people to it. But at the same time, it can also push a lot of people away. And so maybe opening wax isn't for you. If you're listening to this podcast, or maybe you're like someone, I'm really getting tired of the hobby. I'm spending too much money. Well, then just buy the cards you like. That's another way to go about this. Or get into breaks where, like, we held a bunch of PYT breaks for Finest Baseball, pick your team breaks, and people were just buying the teams they like, or a player they like on a team so they can chase that player. So there's a lot of ways that you can interact with a hobby that's beyond just buying boxes and packs, but we also love to sell them.
Sure, of course. And the reason that I really got into it when I was a kid, and of course that was when they made 8 million of the cards, and it was so many of them, but was to try to put a set together. Like, that was always really fun. Is that even a thing anymore? Could I take my box and try to put a set together, or does that not even mean anything?
I think people will always put together the sets of the flagship products. So I've seen this. So Topps Series 1, Series 2, and Update, just the paper cards. Topps Chrome, Bowman Drafts, those kind of products. People love to build those sets. I got a couple guys in the shop who come in and tell me like that's their therapy, just building sets. And people come in, and we have customers who only buy cardboard from us and supplies. Who they buy big collections and they don't get them from the shop, but they love to sort. And I love that kind of element of the hobby where you meet people who, they may only spend $17.12 with you in every 6 months. That's fine as long as you're having fun in the hobby. And so there are people who still do it. The value retention is not there because everything's moved to grading, right?
Sure.
So they might take the one card out of the set, grade it if it looks like a 10, and just get rid of the rest of the set or sell the rest of the set. So it's there. It's just not there like it once was.
Okay. Well, something that was there at the National is going to lead off our wax segment here. There's some gold Panini packs that seem pretty cool.
Yeah, everyone loves gold. I always think about Austin Powers and gold member. I love gold, but the gold packs 2024 were awesome. They don't give them out at the show. They send them to people who had the VIP ticket, which is usually direct manufacturer contract. So we were able to obtain a few boxes. And the nice thing about the gold packs is it always has the first rookie cards for the next season. So, for example, Caitlin Clark, she has WNBA Indiana Fever cards. These have Camila Cardoza and Cam Brink in their Los Angeles Sparks uniform. So that's a big draw. You have Skeens also in there. He's not licensed, but you have Skeens rookie cards in there. Wembanyama's in there. And additional, we're talking about football a lot today. It's been a football kind of themed episode. You have a lot of these rookies in their NFL quarterbacks. We brought up J.J. McCarthy, but I remember seeing one of our breaks. We pulled the J.J. McCarthy card numbered out of 10. It was a beautiful looking card, color blast type card, and it's unique because these are promo packs, but people treat them a little bit like the first rookie card. So we have those. Those came out. It's been a lot of fun. There's been a lot of other products that came out as well. Panini One is a football product. 2024. 2023 Panini One, getting ahead of myself, which is a one-card box, Panini One.
Okay.
But the nice thing about those boxes is they have a lot of rookie patch autos. They have a lot of cards that you'll find, and you're just sitting there thinking, oh, wow, this card in the box is it's slabbed, it's got a sticker on it, it's unique. And people love that product. Another one that people love as well, Optic Contenders comes out this week, football 2023. This is the chrome version of Contenders paper, but Optic Contenders is a product that is, I think, one of the most affordable for return of, like if you hit a big Stroud card or a big Richardson in that, they sell for a lot of money and they also grade really well. So people love Optic Contenders. We have Optic Hybrid, which is also coming out this week, 2023 football. That's another product that's a cheaper version than the hobby version, but Optic Hybrid is another kind of quintessential. It's like Prism, Optic, Select. Everybody wants Optic cards. Everybody wants the chrome. They want to grade it. So chasing cards in there with their unique parallels. Big football release week. And then lastly, we have Star Wars 2024 Chrome. And the reason why I'm big on this is Star Wars is a non-sport brand that doesn't get a lot of love. They have two iterations this year. One is the hobby box, and then the other one is the Breaker's Delight, which is it's specifically for breakers. First time they've ever done this. It's a one-pack product with 2 autographs, but you get autographs of, say, maybe Rosario Dawson in there. You may get a Mark Hamill. They even have Carrie Fisher sticker autos still. So it's a cool kind of world thinking about Star Wars, what that world. I mean, D23 conference just came up. They had all the new trailers. They're talking about the Mandalorian and Grogu has a movie coming out in a few years. So there's this hype that's behind that, and I love the fact that we capture that with Star Wars. We do that as well with Marvel and some of the movies, but we're going to see, I think, very soon, Fanatics involved in the Marvel space, in the Disney space, which is going to be very interesting as we see products that people are going to want outside of sports. So Star Wars Chrome should be fun. We're doing a lot of breaks for that. We do a lot of non-sports at the shop. Shout out to Joe. He's kind of the head of our non-sports world. But we have a big break coming up as well. We're doing what's called a Pick Your Character break. So we broke all the set down by the characters. And there's certain characters, like you could buy the Darth Vader spot, you could buy you could buy the Ahsoka spot, whatever that may be, or you could buy the sketch spot, or you could buy all the characters from a certain TV show, So there's unique ways to do that break as well, which is fun. So those are the wax for the week. Maybe I'll have to get you a box and we get better luck in one of those.
Okay. Can I get Princess Leia in the gold bikini?
I mean, I don't know if that they do have that. They do have that. That's a Return of the Jedi Sapphire card. Yeah. Now I got another card to add to Jeff's PC. I got to find for him. So
that was way back in the day. That was you like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Fun scene.
You're
for,
cheating on Selma though.
Yeah,
or Princess
can't
Leia.
ever do that.
Yeah,
But
don't. You'll get in trouble.
I would certainly do that. Going back to one of those boxes, you saw Barry Sanders on the box, and obviously he's retired, and he's not a part of things anymore. But why do they do that? Why do card companies put in the older players? Like, are they special, or is it just one of the normal cards in a set?
Most of the time, it's because they're going to feature some of those cards of the player. So Barry's probably in that set with some older, they use the word contenders a lot. So they might have Super Bowl contenders cards, or they might have rookie contenders, or rookie of the year contenders. So you have these kind of subsets where they'll bring in some of these guys. But also with Barry, I think he might have autograph cards in that set as well. So the nice thing about Contenders Optic a lot of times is you might see the on-card autographs versus the sticker autographs. Not that they aren't in there, but they like to showcase some of the old legends, which is cool to think about. How you can the before and afters and stuff like that. So Contenders Optics is a great set. You're looking for the rookies, but they do have some of the old legends in it as well.
Yeah, really cool. All right, are you excited about New York? You ready to get
yeah,
up
man.
there?
Yeah, I'm kind of like if you're in like a limbo a little bit. Like National kind of just really took it out. I think I still looked in the shop. We have one box left that I still haven't priced yet of stuff that we bought. So we still have a little remnant of the National, but we have to kind of take all of our prime inventory, pre-preps, ship stuff up, and go to the next show. So that's where we're at. I think it will slow down a little bit for us as we get into September. We only have 1-2 shows then, and then in October for the Meelypops brand, we hold the Upstate Card Show, which is October 25th, 26th, and 27th. And it's kind of fun. I can talk about that in the podcast in the future because we're starting to work on the autograph guests, work on the vendor tables, getting all the sponsors out there. So it's kind of fun putting a show together, and it's a Meelypops themed kind of show. So
yeah, sure. If you're up there in the Northeast, which we know there's a ton of people that more into the NFL and Major League Baseball, but I mean, how cool would that be? You get to walk into his thing and there's Tom Brady maybe throwing footballs, or some of these great names. I mean, you had a guy that was just won gold medal on the Olympics that's going to be there. So pretty special stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun event. We'll look to see you. If you're going to be around, come check us out. We'll have our team up there, a smaller team than the National, but we will have some potent high-end cards and some more liquid cards as well to be selling and trading, and we're also going to be buying as we always do. So love to see you out there in New York.
Yeah, so if you see that new wax coming out, remember WaxStat, the easiest way to get real-time price comps on all those wax boxes, sealed products. You can do it from your mobile home or your laptop. Makes it really, really easy. Visit waxstat.com. Well, again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. It was great having Laura Rutledge on there.
Yeah, thanks, Laura.
It's going to be great. She'll be up here for the Florida-Miami game in Gainesville.
Exciting.
As SEC now will be there, SEC Nation. So, that's always fun, too, because, you have that camaraderie and have people that come back. Tebow will be back as a part of that. So a lot of, at least locally, some great Gators making their way back home. Now you just need the Gators to get good enough to get College Game Day here, because those were the heyday days, and that has not happened too often.
Yeah, I would love to see that happen this season. Don't know. You have no idea. I mean, the nice thing about Florida, we talk about it so much, is football, but basketball and baseball always stellar. Mm-hmm. All of our other gymnastics. I mean, the list goes on and on. But the Olympics, right? I mean, we are 20th in the world, I think it was, University of Florida, with medal count, from the Olympics. And so just shows a lot and how thankful we are here. And maybe we'll get some of these Olympians on in the future. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah, we'll definitely be able to pull that up. But yeah, think about that. If the University of Florida was a country, it would have finished 20 in the medal count. So really special stuff from so many people around here. And really special that we get to do this from the Spurrier podcast room. Again, we'll do this every single week and really enjoy it. 3-year anniversary now of Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. So it was a pleasure getting to be here for that celebration. And you had a lot of great people here. And, the fun part is, Coach still holds court. Everybody is just, you look around and you see him shaking hands and taking pictures, but he's so far removed from coaching here at Florida and obviously winning a Heisman, but he's an idol for sure. And it was great having him to kick off the Meelypod Hobby Podcast.
Yeah, we started with some great guests with head coach. We've had amazing ones through episode 10, and we had just a rock star, the queen of football, Laura Rutledge, Gator Queen, and so we're thankful for that. She could have come on today and share with us. So made some time for little old Jeff and Jameel.
That is right, and that will do it for us. Hope you have a great time the rest of the week, and we'll talk to you next time on the Meelypod Hobby Podcast.
Thank you for joining us. We will see you next Thursday at noon.